world-class tenor with a fine clear voice. Malcolm Roberts. A tribute by Graham Hunter.
In 2003, after the death of Malcolm Roberts, Graham Hunter published an article paying tribute to this talented singer and actor. In 2024, marking 21 years without Malcolm, it is worth reading Hunter's text again to remember Malcolm's journey and keep his legacy alive.
Malcolm James Roberts, born in Blackley, Manchester, on March 31, 1944, was poised to embark on yet another leg of his checkered career, a new CD of mostly his own new songs freshly recorded, and to re-establish himself on the UK's dwindling cabaret circuit. In 2000, he had played the Brighton 60s weekend to great success. A CD issued shortly before if his back catalogue, sold like cakes during that weekend. Things were looking good for Malcolm, hindered only slightly during 2002 when he had badly needed hip replacement surgery. But, 2 months later he was back in Blackpool appearing to capacity audiences and a justifiable response. Some 60s music lovers dismiss the so-called crooners of the period. True, some pale into the background, but let's not forget that song Yesterday, itself a simple poignant ballad composed by two members of the most successful 60s beat group Lennon and McCartney. The Beatles, of course, rates as one of the most recorded songs of all time by countless artists in several languages. Let us also remember that it was taken into the UK charts in 1965, reaching number 8, by a warm-voiced British balladeer Matt Monro. Another such song, a standard of its day and still sung by every cruise ship and club singer to varying degrees, is Love Is All, written for Malcolm to perform in the 1969 International Song Festival in Rio, Brazil. Les Reed and Barry Mason penned the catchy ballad. Johnny Arthey conducted and Tommy Scott produced the session. In England, it was released on the Major Minor record label and struck the charts solidly for 3 months, reaching N12. Some 4 years later, Engelbert's version made it to number 44 in the UK during 1973. Roberts performed the song in front of about 40,000 people during the festival in 1969. Due to a judging error by a Japanese adjudicator, points mix-up, Malcolm came third. The audience erupted and literally disrupted the festival for over 20 minutes, chanting Malcolm's name. To calm the situation, Malcolm stepped forward and placed a Union Jack flag around the shoulders of Bill Medley, from Righteous Brothers, and he was able to perform his song. That year, the contest winner was Brazilian singer Evie. Some only remember Malcolm Roberts for this song. In fact, it was his 8th British single release. He was then a 25-year-old with a powerhouse beautiful tenor, with range and quality. You could hear his gasps and gulps for air while belting out note for note. He had first hit the British charts, aged 23, in May 1967 with Time Alone Will Tell. Originally an Italian melody with English lyrics set to it and produced by Norman Newell, it was arranged and conducted by Johnny Pearson. Remember the Johnny Pearson Orchestra, each week backing the acts live on top of the pops. Next came the Carole King Jerry Goffin song Use Until Tomorrow in 1967. This slipped the charts for Malcolm, but Gene Pitney had the hit version in 1968. Norman Newell was managing Malcolm's recording career at this time with RCA. On reflection, Newell, a then powerful man in the business, was perhaps not forwarding Malcolm's career with the times. By 1967 and 1968, the days of the big production ballads were nearing their end. The beat boom was well and truly underway, and, just around the corner was the psychedelic era. Though Malcolm sang and recorded with ease, standards like How Deep Is the Ocean, Love Is a Many Splendid Thing, and similar, he needed new songs to be identified with, and it took a change of label to Major Minor to achieve this. The big orchestral arrangements remained in place for the majority of his Major Minor label days. His first release for them was actually his biggest hit, May I Have the Next Dream With You, number 8, in 1968 and again number 45 in 1969, produced by Tommy Scott, who wielded the controls of Malcolm's Major Minor recordings. Malcolm did not sustain the run of hits like his contemporaries Tom Jones and Engelbert Humperdinck. In terms of quality, tone and pitch, he was certainly the better of the three vocally. Yet, His type of voice by 1967 was probably a little too old-fashioned sounding and straight-laced for the day, though this is not to decry him and his talent in any way. He was a very popular cabaret concert singer, loved in England and Europe, and adored in South America, where he could play stadiums. He had strong followings in Germany, Holland and Belgium too. During the 70s he appeared in Las Vegas on the Jack Benny Show at Sahara Hotel. He charmed American TV audiences on the Johnny Carson Show and the David Frost Show in New York. In Miami, he would play opposite Lise Minnelli at the Diplomat Hotel then, later, south to Puerto Rico, Argentina, Brazil, over to Bermuda, and so on. This work would go on for most of the 70s, while he recorded occasionally for Columbia, namely a great version of He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, and an intriguing Neil Sedaka Howard Greenfield song God Bless Joanna. In his heyday, Roberts would appear in over 100 television shows worldwide, including Sunday Night at the London Palladium on April 23, 1967, his very first star slot. His own show for the BBC, Music My Way, D-Time, with Simon D., and a special with Olivia Newton-John Moods of Love were among many. Chart hits would elude him though. He continued to record for the book label during the 1974 and 1975 period, some good sides by contemporary songwriters of the day like Leon, written by Philip Goodhand Tate, arranged for him by Ivor Raymond, and Sunday Morning Sunshine written by Harry Chapin. As the 70s rose into prominence, Malcolm recorded newer songs, lightening his operatic-trained voice to a more contemporary feel. The 1973 Emmy album, Living for Life, showed his appreciation for new writers of the day, David Gates, Graham Sacker, and Paul Williams. At this point Roberts's recording management were pushing him down the same roads as Jack Jones, to open up new avenues and audiences. He struck on the continent in 1974 with his version of the Charles Aznavour song She. He appeared for a month's engagement at London's Talk of the Town to rave reviews. His show played to capacity and most nights celebrity audiences. A live album was released of hits concerts available on CD. An interesting on-off single for United Artists in 1977, Manitoba, failed to make the charts, but its B-side is the haunting Murray Head song Never Even Thought. It makes this single quite collectible. Cliff Richard cut his version a year later for his 1978 album Green Light. During the 80s, Malcolm found the standards of work were not the same as they had been. One single appeared in 1981, Every Single Beat of Your Heart by Dave Courtney and Barry Livesey. In 1982 he took another Les Reed song to perform at the Hawaiian Song Festival, I Never Thought I'd Cry, but without success. Back in London during 1983, he appeared and recorded Live for the Heroes and Villains concert. His version of The Wanderer appears on a rare UK single along with Billy Fury singing Wondrous Place and Dave Berry Little Things. No longer armed with any recordings deals, Malcolm made several trips to appear at Fast Halle's in Germany and concerts in Belgium. During this time, he did cut a now highly collectible CD of songs by Wiltour issued in Belgium. He appeared quite regularly on Belgium television. He continued to perform in the UK in pantomimes in Brighton, Bournemouth, Torquay and other places. In 1985, joining 5 other singers to represent Luxembourg in the Eurovision Song Contest, the song Children, Kinda, Enfant went unplaced. In the summer of 1985, a new musical opened at the Birmingham Repertory Theatre, Jeannie. Based on the life of Joan of Arc, despite some good reviews and a move to London's Sadler's Wells Theatre, had a short run. Malcolm had a couple of good songs but nothing to set the charts of the time alight. Cruise ships would welcome Malcolm Roberts with open arms. The good-looking blonde Lothario with a great voice seemed ideal for such a setting, but, as most artists recognize, working at sea is often termed burial at sea in terms of a good land-based career in the eyes of who matter in showbiz. For a while though, Malcolm enjoyed the lifestyle, and it gave him ample opportunity to continue his love of songwriting. However, his career was suffering on the world's oceans in the claustrophobic environment. So he returned to Brazil for almost 4 years, to the lands of his former glories, South America. Music was changing and, in 1990, Malcolm returned to England, having suffered some managerial problems while in Brazil. He was frustrated with changes in the business and found it hard to get re-established. He pursued work relentlessly, appearing on Wogan, performing his own song One Love for the 1991 entry into the Eurovision Song Contest. His song got through to the last 8 but no further. In London, Malcolm appeared in Cabaret for a month at the Pizza on the Park, backed by the Kenny Clayton Trio. Clayton, a top musical director and pianist, has worked with Petula Clark for many years and was very instrumental in getting Malcolm noticed during his early years trying to make it in London. Performing 2 45-minute sets each night, he mixed his material with standards he had recorded for RCA on his first album Mr. Roberts, with showcasing new songs he had been writing during forays to South and North America. Malcolm's dream of getting his recordings heard again came true in 1993 when his first compilation CD came out, The Best of the MA Years. There are now currently 5 Malcolm Roberts CDs available, including the new album of his songs he had been working on shortly before he died, entitled Rio, released October 2003. This CD also includes some of the rare 80s tracks only issued in Belgium, and the 1985 Hawaiian song entry I Never Thought I'd Cry. It also features a rare recording of him singing Love Is All in Rio during the 1969 International Song Festival. His previously unreleased version of the classic musical song You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel is one of the highlights of the new Emmy compilation of his recorded work, The Very Best of May I Have the Next Dream With You. There are a few recordings made for the Latin market issued in Brazil and Argentina yet to find their way onto CD. Malcolm Roberts was buried near Henley-on-Thames on February 20, 2003. This was not a big show business event. Key figures in Malcolm's career attended, family and friends, and, as I found, 2 of the most fascinating fans were ladies who used to pack his records for shipment when they worked for Emmy during the 60s and 70s. They, like other artists' records, were tested by workers who would listen trough so many copies per batch to check for vinyl faults. These lovely ladies had become devotees and told me how thrilled they were when Malcolm once visited the factory.